ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Motherlodge. My name's JP Leavengood. Sitting behind me is Ray Rizzo, the guy who put this up for the evening. Let's give him a big round of applause. A very ambitious effort, a very wonderful thing. I read at the reading room. On, Tuesday, I guess that was, or Monday, I don't know. It's been a long week. But Ray invited me to come back and read again. Ronnie Dorsey, who read, we shall also give her a round of applause. More play special treat. So I'm just going to give you a read before the governor comes up. A great band in there, you should check them out. They are on their way back from festival in New York, and they are well worth your time. So what I'm doing is a group of autobiographical tales that don't care about facts, called Tales of a Mad Bastard. Ronnie asked me to do this one. I'm going to do it. Called Chapter 8, Sleeping Pills versus Judge Joe Brown. A Beginner's Guide to Suicide. So, is this your first time in LA? The question was every bit as LA as the 20-something production assistant asking it. Tan, seriously casual, smile at the ready. A woman who had last touched body fat when she hugged her corn-fed Iowa mother goodbye to follow a dream of fame, lavish parties, and power lunches, powerful enough to light up the entire Midwest. Yeah, first time, I said, squinting my eyes as they adjusted from the bright West Coast daylight to the dark labyrinth of the studio. Cables, makeshift sets, dollies, and wardrobe racks filled the cavernous corrugated soundstage as people crossed our paths with frantic purpose, all possessed with the same dream and Hollywood smile. So did you get a chance to enjoy the sights last night? I just shrugged. I've been put in a nice hotel surrounded by trendy bars and restaurants that attach themselves to gay neighborhoods like candlelit barnacles to well-dressed Abercrombie and Fitch whales. But I had arrived late and assumed my lack of money and decent wardrobe probably wouldn't get me past the bouncer at the gay LA Denny's. Besides, this wasn't a pleasure trip. This was business. Not the business of entertainment or fame, but the serious business of self-destruction. Well, here you are, the PA said, as she opened a door labeled Defendants. Marcia will be in to see you in a bit. Welcome to the Judge Joe Brown Show. Judge Joe Brown. That syndicated treasure located somewhere on the entertainment food chain between Jerry Springer and QVC. A daytime television show where the lower-class citizens of Middle America were flown into Television City to air their dirty laundry and convince the rest of the country that their lives weren't that bad. And here I was in the green room, aptly painted green, with the Walmart daily tray and bottled water, sodas, and makeup station. And I wasn't alone. It was going to be a full day of shooting. This wasn't a weekday 9-to-5er for Judge Joe Brown. A week's worth of shows were shot in a couple days, so the judge could fight injustice and domestic squabbles on the golf course of Palm Beach. We were the green fees, the defendants, the next Christians to be fed to the lions for the pleasure and edification of this basic cable coliseum. Me, along with some manual laborer whose pool installation resembled more of a Salvador Dali painting than a pool, various debtors, and some guy whose case involved a dog, a fight, and a motherfucking microwave, who was already holding court in the corner. Yeah, I clipped the dog, but I wasn't aiming for the damn dog. I was aiming for her. Obviously, there was a fine line between criminal court and the Judge Joe Brown Show, and it was determined by the ability to hit a woman with a GE white 1.6 cubic foot microwave from 20 feet away, or hitting a dog. The man was going to lose. Everyone knew it. I knew it. The pool contractor knew it. We were all here to lose. I was here to lose the last very shred of dignity I possessed. I was here to kill myself. Not myself in the biological sense, but myself with a big capital S that all the Greeks and philosophers talked about whenever they're talking about anything important. Self-esteem, self-worth, self-actualization. I would take all these selves and kill them, and Judge Joe Brown would pull the trigger. JP, Marcia had arrived. Smartly dressed, you could tell that she had once been filled with the same hope and vigor as the PA that brought me to the room. But she was older, probably in her mid-30s, which in LA years made her about 89. The brass ring had passed her by, and now she was stuck, getting defendants ready for their appearance on the Judge Joe Brown Show. You look nice. translated from LA means most people don't usually wear suits here. Now, when you go out there, I want you to be polite. And please watch your language, she said, canceling a glance at motherfucking microwave man. But don't be afraid to defend yourself. If you're just going out there to make a fool out of yourself, we'll just stop filming. The judge is not a dumb man. And if you're trying to lose, Judge Joe Brown will know, and all agreements are off. The agreement. The other reason I was here. The last trick I had up my sleeve. My latest depression had been massive and severe, and now is going to complete the work started by the 4 horsemen of the bipolar apocalypse. Impulse, self-loathing, fear, and rage. I had lost my job, I had lost my home, I had lost my friends, I had lost the woman I cared about. This time all I had left was my pride and the agreement. And I was going to sacrifice one in order to save the other. Are you ready, Marcia asked with a look that was trying to figure out that Judge Joe Brown show had been tricked. If someone actually got the game and slipped through the cracks, someone who really understood the agreement, I was born ready. All right, you seem like a nice guy. Don't make an ass out of yourself. To be born bipolar is to be born an ass. To be born bipolar with ADD is to be born an ass who can't find a hole in the ground. The signs start early. You blunt words out. You piss yourself. You walk around with your shoes untied and can't wait for the day they invent Velcro. And people laugh. And laughing isn't that bad. It's much better they laugh at what's happening on the outside than see what's brewing underneath. The frustration not being able to control your own mind and body, which starts turning into anger, until it's fully fermented into a rage at the world you can't seem to join, and a loathing at yourself for not being able to do anything about it. So let them laugh. If it means giving up a piece of yourself, so be it. Especially if some good can come out of it. A little peace, or acceptance, or maybe a little love. Like the love of a little redheaded girl from Indiana, who when I was 15, I told that I would do anything, change anything, sacrifice anything for just one kiss. And she was happy to make a list. Memorize the first act of Macbeth. Walk 5 paces behind me. Put on this dress. So before you knew it, there I was, 5 paces behind, reciting, "Where shall we three meet again?" in a knee-length dress that really wasn't my side. And it didn't matter, because I got my kiss. And after that first makeout session, the lovely redheaded girl from Indiana told me a secret. "You're a sweet guy," she said, wiping off the slobber from a sweet guy who doesn't know how to kiss. "But you try too hard to make people happy. If you keep up like this, you're gonna end up killing yourself one day." And that day almost came. Many years later in a hot apartment, with no power and no furniture except a dingy couch, located somewhere near the corner of rock bottom and not fucking again. It's been a place I've been before. Cycles of mania and depression kept driving me in a circle, each time sacrificing a little more, each time raising the stakes, each time losing a little bit more of myself, each time picking up a little bit more fear, a little more anger, crash, rebuild, enjoy, crash, repeat. And this was a rare evening, an evening where I was not only depressed, but I was also manic. When you're in a deep depression, just putting on a pair of socks seems like running the Boston Marathon. It would take an earthquake to get you out of bed. So even if you're thinking about killing yourself, you're pretty sure that would involve putting on socks, and that's just too much. But with mania, you can do anything. The world is bright, you're brilliant, your checking account is endless. You're full of shit, but just too damn wound up to notice. So when mania and depression come together, well, not only do you hate yourself, but you really have the energy to do something about it. So in my empty, hot, dark apartment, I had an emergency board meeting with myself. Good evening, gentlemen. Sorry to call this emergency board meeting of myself and I, but frankly, I know we're all tired of the way things are going, and well, we need to do something immediately about it. Everyone here? Pain? Present. Fear? Present. Mania? Present! Great. Depression? Depression? Depression couldn't make it. Why not? He didn't want to put socks on, and so he sent me. Who are you? Self-loathing. Fantastic. Anger? Fucking present! Excellent. Now, does anyone have any ideas? Have we just considered killing ourselves and getting this over with? Yes. Self-loathing we have.
Does anyone have an idea how to do it? Give me a gun! Does anyone have a gun for anger? Does anyone know where we can get a fucking gun? I could build a gun, the best gun ever. That's nice, Mania. A gun. A gun, anyone? Sorry, anger. Fuck! Mania, how much money do we have? $3! $3 whole dollars! What happened to all of our money, Mania? I bought shit. Like what? 50 feet of coax. It was on sale. I have this idea. Let's hang his ass with the coax. Hey, hold on. Yeah, sir? Yes, Fear? Well, we have low ceilings, and this place is a bit of a slum, and we might break furniture if we tried, and if we go outside, we might be caught. You're right, Fear. How about we just cut your ass? Now, Anger, I hate knives. I know. Besides, it'd take too long, and Mr. Fear may chicken out over here. Good point, Self-Loathing. Do you have any ideas? I suggest we walk down to the grocery store and see if we can steal some sleeping pills. Mr. I blew all our cash, thinks he can handle it. No problem, my name isn't compulsive for nothing. Sounds like a plan. Meeting adjourned. We meet back in an hour. So in the middle of the night, I walked into a deserted 24-hour grocery store, which was dirty and lit with cheap fluorescent lights, which turned everything in the store to a sickly green to match the meat. And I found sleeping pills for allergy sufferers. Now I knew these weren't probably high enough strength sleeping pills, but if I took all of them, and I mean all of them in the store, it might work. So I walked the aisles with a shopping cart, pretending to be shopping, while emptying out the boxes of sleeping pills into my pockets. Once the job was done, I ditched the cart, grabbed a 40-ounce of beer, and proceeded to the checkout. Because doing all that shopping and buying nothing, well, that would look suspicious, but doing all that shopping and buying a 40-ounce of Miller High Life, that looks normal. I came back to the apartment, deadbolted the lock, and reconvened the board. Are we still in agreement about this? Mania? You bet! Fear? Just make it stop. Anger? Fuck yes! Self-loathing? Yes. Pain? Please. Cheers. And with that, I took the pills. I stopped counting after 100. Started losing feelings soon after, and was slowly fading away. Finally, peace. A cowardly peace. Granted, but the only permanent peace I could see after years of living my life in cycles of destruction without knowing why. It'd be over. Over for my loved ones who've been forced to watch and hurt with each failure. Over for anyone who had ever made the mistake of hoping in me, trusting in me, or God forbid, loving me again in the future. And over for whatever piece of me that was still good after all these years. I had finally put an end to it. Almost. Almost, except for the fact that over-counter allergy sleeping aids have a small dose of antihistamine in them, and I suck at chemistry. I wasn't dying, I was blacking out. Downer plus upper plus bipolar chemistry equals shitstorm. A shitstorm, from all accounts, involved a splintered apartment door and a 1.5-mile trek to my childhood home. I have no memory of it. Just visions. Visions of childhood, visions of me screaming and someone screaming back from the front door, visions of the bright lights in New Orleans and Chicago, visions of a bright light of ambulances and police cruisers, visions of beatings in grade school bathrooms, visions of being wrestled to the ground by men in white coats and men in badges, visions of my childhood bedroom, visions of an emergency room, visions of pills and cheap beer, visions of charcoal and vomit, visions of my mother standing next to me crying, and visions of a lovely redheaded girl from Indiana standing at the foot of my bed, a little older than I remembered, in a white coat, wearing a stethoscope. No, this wasn't a vision. This was 2 days later, and I was awake, and the redheaded girl from Indiana was my attending physician. JP, how you doing? There you go. Normally in a situation like this, seeing an ex after many years, I would say, hey, great, how are you doing? But she was doing well. She was a doctor, and I couldn't exactly lie about how I was doing. I was a nutcase on suicide watch, and she was holding my chart. Hey, everyone goes crazy. You're being too hard on yourself, she said as she gave me a warm smile. Besides, who's to judge? Maybe the redheaded girl from Indiana wasn't in a position to judge, but a few years later, in a couple manic depressive cycles, I would find a man who was Judge Joe Brown. I was at rock bottom again, and the cameras are rolling. The plaintiff was a woman who I'd been manically in love with and dated for a couple of years. She looked like she'd been ripped from the classic black and white film. from a time when elegant necklines and high cheekbones held more clout than large breasts and a willingness to do nude scenes. She was nearly as crazy as I was. From the start, everyone knew this relationship was the romantic equivalent of Wile E. Coyote on rocket skates heading towards a fake tunnel. We fed our craziness, we handed each other our pain, and we shared a credit card. It was a nice gesture. She wanted to help me with a car repair. But sharing your finances with someone who's mentally insane is like letting Stevie Wonder drive your Hummer through a grade school parking lot. No matter your intentions, no matter how much you try to help, it's going to get messy. And soon my depression came, the relationship went, and the debt remained. I tried to make it right, but if depression makes it hard to put on your socks, it makes it damn near impossible to do finances. So one day I was sitting at my desk at a job getting ready to lose, and Marcia from Judge Joe Brown called. My ex had submitted our case to the show. To this day, I don't know why. I don't think she ever watched the show. I just think she was trying to shock me into reality. I highly suspect she was drunk at the time. At first I told Marcia, no way! But as I was pulling away the foam from my ear, she told me about the agreement. And the agreement was enough to make me pause and consider. It was a devil's bargain. It would give me what I deserved, and my ex the piece of revenge and compensation she wanted. All I had to do was not look into the camera, set the judge up for his comments, and most importantly, lose. Because if I took an obvious dive, Judge Joe Brown would know. Judge Joe Brown knows all. Do you have the receipts? The judge asked my poor ex, who was getting more emotional than I expected. Of course she does, I thought. I gave them to her right before we got here. Well, ma'am, the judge said with a furrowed brow, you signed for this repair. Yes, Your Honor. She was getting choked up, but I thought he was going to pay it back. This was going too far. I was the bad guy. It was time for me to take the fall. Is this true, son? The law states that a contract can be explicit or implied in written or verbal form and is binding in so much as the existence and terms of said contract can be verified by both parties or by an impartial third party or documents. I don't think people in LA expected someone from Kentucky to know that. But hopefully this federal judge on the 2 p.m. syndicated circuit knew it. It's what I was counting on. It was my illegal equivalent of 120 sleeping pills. Well, I was grateful when she did that to me, and I said I'd try to pay her back and at least take over the payments. But I was just trying to pay, you said that? Yes, Your Honor. The judge sat back and gave me his trademark stare of syndicated wisdom. Well, son, where I come from, that's called a promise. Now you seem like a nice man, but you need to learn that a real gentleman keeps his promises. Truly, I was in the presence of a staggering legal mind, the freaking William H. Rehnquist of daytime television. I find for the plaintiff and award her the sum of $2,000. Maybe the sum next time someone tries to do nice for you, you'll try to do something nice back. Strangely enough, that's what I just did. In the only fucked up way I knew. Because if you notice, on shows like the Judge Joe Brown, they never say, I ordered the defendant to pay damages. They always say, I award the plaintiff. That's the agreement. Plain as day for anyone smart enough to see it. You take the fall. You play the fool. You sacrifice part of yourself, and Judge Joe Brown writes the check. You see, I made a promise not to kill myself again. Mostly because of the pain I saw in my mother's eyes. And partly because I didn't want to be that guy who screwed up his suicide twice. But there's more than one way to die. You can kill your soul, your esteem, your self-worth, your dignity. Maybe I couldn't pay my debt in cash, but I could pay it in little pieces of myself. I could make an ass out of myself. I could kill what pride I still had left. Any remnant that still clung to the belief that I was a good person. And hopefully now I could go back home and wait for the world to get wind of this, to see it, and finally force me into the exile I deserved. Looks like you lost, Marcia said with the same questioning look. Hey, I tried. And with that, I got into my limo and drove away from Television City. I did try. The plaintiff got her money in revenge, but I didn't get the revilement that I hoped for. Just like I overestimated the strength of over-the-counter sleeping pills, I also overestimated the audience and influence of the Judge Joe Brown show. No one saw it. I never saw it. The only way I know it aired is that someone at my old job got a tape of it, and every Friday they watched it and laughed. But they already knew I was crazy. Apparently I was a master of self-destruction, but not annihilation. Part of me, somewhere deep inside myself, refused to will. and it couldn't be destroyed on national television. It wouldn't die from sleeping pills. It could even survive reciting Macbeth in a dress from 5 paces back. It was a small part of me that wanted to live. Maybe it was stubbornness. Maybe it was joy. Whatever it was, my story was not finished. It still had chapters to write. More strange, though never again nationally televised, tales of a mad bastard. Woo! And hey, Rizzo, thank you so much, guys. Think you're gonna play a little bit more? All right.